right, who can recognize a United States accent? Right? You guys get it? Okay. I hate following South Africans because you guys have the best accent of any place in the world. Right? It is unbelievable. Right? No one has any idea what you're saying, but they love the accent. It's amazing. Right? And so I'm super excited to be here in Pretoria. Thank you to Marlies and Nicole and Darren for arranging this. It's my second time in Africa. I'm here for a month, right? When you come to Africa and you go to multiple countries, you have to get inoculated, right? Like shots for cholera, typhoid, measles, mumps, like booster shots. And like I got all of that stuff in my body right now. So if I like keel over, start foaming at the mouth, just like kick me with your shoe, no mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. All right, none of that. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about the inbound revolution, growing your business in an online world. My name is Dan Tyre from HubSpot. Super excited to talk about it today. I have picked up a little bit of a cold. Does it sound like I'm got a little bit of a cold? Right, but you can still, like, kind of the Rod Stewart. You guys know Rod Stewart? Approach. Yep. All right. Okay, I don't know if this is going to work, but has anybody been to Las Vegas? No? You've been to Las Vegas. All right, so I speak all over the world. Part of my job at HubSpot is to go all over the place. I was in Las Vegas for CES, right, which is the automotive show. It's the consumer electronics show. And I was going to a presentation, and it was on a Sunday. And I didn't really look at the itinerary until Saturday night. And it turns out it wasn't Sunday night. Turns out the presentation was at 9:30 in the morning on Sunday morning, right, in Las Vegas, right? And there is absolutely no one up at 9:30 in the morning in Las Vegas on Sunday. So I went to the venue. It was 350 people, stadium seating. It was awesome. And there were 11 people there. And they were all sitting in the last row. Right, and so I'm like, okay, what should I talk about? Temptation, redemption. So I went in and I got the monkey slide, right, and I put it in there because that's what everybody who showed up at 9:30 in the morning on Sunday felt like, and I just kept it in there for a while. So hopefully that works in Pretoria. How about this one? Does that work in South Africa? All right, you guys are an intelligent audience. I like that. So I was in Ohio. Right, in the United States. I was speaking to the University of Ohio, right, and I put that up. No one laughed. I'm like, wait a second. You got to laugh. That's a funny joke. They're like, nothing. So I'm the kind of speaker, I'm going to wait them out, right? So I didn't say anything. It was like a minute, and then 2 minutes. And I'm sitting there just like you, Clive, just like, no way, man. No way. Finally, somebody in the front row starts laughing. Then everybody laughs. I'm like, see? All right. How about this one? Mayan apocalypse. All right, you guys get my humor. That's the first time I've ever been compared to Trevor Noah, right? But that is like, all right, so I'm in Costa Rica. Excuse me. I'm in Costa Rica. I put up that slide. I'm thinking this is going to be really cool because I have my first translator. I hit the big time as a public speaker. I got my first translator, and Gonzalo was sitting there over on the side. And I put up the slide, and he says it in Spanish, and like no one laughs, right? So I go, like, you got to do it again. And he's like, no. And you can't really get in a fight with your translator on stage, can you? It's not good form, right? You're only as good as your translator on stage. So I go, no, say it again. He's like, no. I like, why? He goes, there's no alpacas in Costa Rica. They all think it's a fat goat, right? All right, and this one was in, if you're a stubborn man, stand up, right? Does that work, right? I thought that was pretty funny. I found it on BuzzFeed someplace. I know. I was working with telecom folks. Right, you guys get to decide, right, if you want more information or more humor, or we can combine the whole thing. Right, I usually start off with a couple of jokes because it's pretty funny, right? And I thought that was pretty good. All right, so my name is Dan Tyre. Go on LinkedIn. Who has LinkedIn on their phone? All right, go into your LinkedIn right now and connect with me on LinkedIn. I've got 16,000 connections on LinkedIn. And if I can ever help you, connect you with somebody I know, answer any questions with, just send me a LinkedIn request, right? How many people are on Twitter? Okay. Anybody gotten off Twitter lately? Okay. So about the same. Instagram, if you want to see pictures of my food, Dan Tyre 1, right? And I'm employee number 6 at HubSpot. I was the first salesperson for HubSpot. 5 startups since 1983. My first startup went to $1.5 billion and IPO'd in secondary. And I started as a salesperson, moved to a sales manager, then I was their turnaround expert. And I learned a lot about hyper growth. It was very, very interesting. My second business was an agency like Darren's. And I started in my dining room. I grew it to $25 million, 8 locations across North America. And then we sold the company. My third startup went bankrupt, right? And that taught me a lot about business planning and humility, right? My fourth startup got bought out by Microsoft, right? And HubSpot's my fifth startup. So I have lots of entrepreneurial credibility, right? And now I'm a mentor to about 35 folks. I advise about 20 companies. I'm a big-time blogger. Has anybody ever read any of my blogs? Very good, Valila. I speak 60 times a year. I wrote a book called The Inbound Organization. I'll talk a little bit about that. I invest in companies. I serve on 6 boards of directors. And my mission statement is I try to do the most good that I can for the universe, which I stole from my kid, right? My son, Eli, 25 years old, went to university, took a semester off, took a second semester off, calls me up and goes, I'm not going back. What do you do when your kid says, I'm not going back to get my degree at university? What do you say? I'm like, I don't know. So I went to Chicago, and I'm like, what are you trying to do? Why don't you want to get your degree? And he's like, Dad, all I want to do is the right thing for people. And so now he's a researcher for artificial intelligence. And at the end, when we're arguing about whether he should stay in school, he's like, all I want to do is the most good I can for the universe. I'm like, all right, I'm stealing that line. I'm going to use it all over the world, which I do. That's my personal mission statement. All right, these are some of the companies that I work with or invest in, and they're all over the world, right? HubSpot is all about helping companies grow, right? And I don't want you to think that I'm like an ivory tower executive, right? I am in what we call the mud and the slime, right? How many people are salespeople in the audience? All right. Did anybody study mathematics or economics in university? Okay. I forgot your name. James. All right. When I ask people to raise your hand, tell me the percentage of people who raise their hand, right? So if you're a salesperson, no, you're. I need 2 people. I need a statistician. You're the official statistician. There's a prize. Do you need sunglasses? HubSpot sunglasses. I'll let you choose between HubSpot sunglasses or HubSpot, like moleskin. You guys know moleskins? Okay. Will you prefer the moleskin? Okay, definitely. All right. All right. So if you're a salesperson, raise your hand. What, James? What's the deal? I know, but I need to know the percentage of people whose hands are raised. No. Oh, James. 30%. Okay. Thank you, Kiki. 30%. Okay, I know. Okay. Yeah. Is it Kiki? KK, you're the new statistician. James, you lost your shot at the moleskin. That was the worst guess ever. There was like 5 people who raised their hand, and you're like 65%. That's insane. Come on. Crazy. All right, if you're in marketing, raise your hand. Kiki? I know, but I need to know the percentage of people in the audience. All right, this is supposed to go easily, right? This is not supposed to be the hard part of the presentation. All right, so 65 marketers. All right. This is awesome. This is awesome. The audience is funnier than I am. I love it. Okay, you didn't tell me this, Darren. That wasn't in the briefing sheet. All right, if you're the CEO or an executive of a company, raise your hand. Okay, yep. Very good. CEO, Kiki, CEO or executive? I know, but you got to say what percentage. All right, maybe I should have you 2 guys sit together. You can coordinate. Right? Amazing. Okay, very, very good. Would you agree that sales has changed, and everything that you learned about sales in the last 20 years is different, right? There's a huge difference, and we're going to walk through today the inbound sales aesthetic. That's the one I want. Easier or harder to be a business owner in 2019? Raise your hand if you think it's easier. How many? Kiki? About 12 people. All right. How many people think it's harder? All right. So we're going to say it's about 80-20 people think it's harder. Right? It is very, very different. Every company in 2019 is a technology company. All right? It's no longer good enough to say, I'm just a nonprofit. I'm not a technology company. Because technology runs our life. And the sales process has changed quite significantly. Right? Over the next 18 months, 1 million sales jobs will go away. Right? Because of the way people buy. Right? So does anybody remember 2006? Or at least you probably weren't even born then. Right? All right, 2006. Right? In 2006, if you wanted to buy something, you had to go into a store. It's the early days of the internet. Right? And you had to talk to a salesperson. And they would say, are you like ready to buy today? And the little hairs on the back of your neck would go up and you're like, I just want the information. But they played a valuable role because unless they told you what you wanted to know, that was the only way to get the information. In 2019, how do you start a purchase? What's the first thing you do? Why? Good information, right? Who looks at reviews, right? You look at why do you look at reviews? That's right. That's right. And so you look at the reviews. Number 3, it's free. Number 4, if you want to go to South Africa, you can't quite see here, but there's 342,000 people who want to be optimized for a trip to South Africa there, right? So this is the new retail store. This is the way people want to buy, right? How many people have websites? Okay, I'm going to say 60%. Websites super important, right? To make sure this is your reception desk, right? And optimizing for being found for people on the internet is critically important. All right. The anybody a Google shareholder? Anybody know how much money Google makes? They make $1.5 billion in profit per month, right? By selling these Google AdWords, right? If that's worth $1.5 billion US, right? The organic stuff is worth trillions of dollars. Right? Darren can show you, right? Once you get found on the first page of Google, right, everybody starts looking for it. So it becomes very, very important that your website is optimized in a couple of different ways, right? The other thing is it's very noisy out there, right? We enjoy the highest standard of living in the history of humanity, right? But we're all not happy, right? And the real challenge is you're trying to determine if somebody is the real deal and has been in business for a while, or it's what we call in the United States a side hustle, right? They're just doing it on the side, right? And it's sometimes hard for consumers to understand that, right? They want to know that you're an expert in what you do. They want to know that you can help them solve their problems. They want to know that you're like a good fit, right? And we all have to deal with this, right? In the old days, starting a company was the big deal. Today, it's not starting the company, it's scaling the company, right? In the United States, you can start a company for $50, right? And so all those companies I showed you before, they're all startup companies, right? And then here is your new customer. He's distracted. He is disappointed. He's anxiety-ridden, and he expects that you will know who he is the first time you talk, right? They're very, very focused. Does anybody know the attention span of a goldfish? 9 seconds. Anybody know what a consumer is? Right? 8 seconds. Right? They want it now. And if they don't get it now, and if you're not giving them exactly what they want, right, they'll just go to somebody else. Right? This is the consumer that you have to deal with today, right? So it's harder to do that with human beings, right? You can't scale with human beings. You have to automate more of the process, and that's why every company is a technology company. Finally, in 2019, is there more competition or less? How much more? All right, in 2014, oh, by the way, all these statistics are from HubSpot Research, right? You can just go online and go to HubSpot Research. This woman, Mimi Ann, is a PhD, and she publishes all these papers that make me sound smart. And in 2014, the average company had 7 competitors. In 2019, it's 44 competitors, right? And I think that's even a little bit understated because you're not even competing with people just in South Africa. You're competing in a truly global economy, right? And so one of the benefits of being in South Africa is you could leverage that like opportunity. But you have to understand that this is part of working in the process. All right, does anybody know the most trusted profession globally? Doctors, top 5. What's that? Firefighters. You saw that slide before, didn't you? That's true. All right. I know. Somebody's paying attention. I like that. All right, very good. Firefighters, number 1, teacher, doctor, nurse. Where are salespeople? I know. They're right there. 1%. Where are marketers? Where are marketers? I know. The person you buy your coffee from, right, has more trust, right, than a salesperson or marketer. Why? Why is that? It's because salespeople are pushy, or they have been, right? They're like, Kiki, you should buy today. And the little hairs go up on the back of your neck, and you're like, no way. And in the old days, there was no choice. In 2019, there's tons of choices, right? 75% of consumers will leave your company without ever telling you that they're ending the relationship, and they'll go to one of those other 44 competitors, right? So the key is to make sure that you're treating your customers a little bit differently. How many people in the audience have good fit customers, have happy customers? You better have good fit customers. You better have happy customers, because your customers are more important than your sales team, right? If you don't have, I know, it's hard to understand, right? But if you don't have happy customers, in the old days, they would call up your boss, and they're like, Darren, that guy Dan, he was too pushy, right? And Darren would call me in the office and say, Dan, don't do that anymore. I go, okay. I walk out and keep doing it, right? Because it wouldn't have an impact. Today, it has a huge impact, right? And if Nicole or Marlee says this guy's a great salesperson, very, very helpful, it has the exact opposite effect, right? Your happy clients, right, are your most important new generation. In fact, you were talking about that on the car over, right? When people move to another company, right, they come back to you and say, can you duplicate what we're doing? All right. Yes, your team, right. All right, so the inbound methodology, very, very important. And we're going to go through 2 parts. This methodology has rolled out over the last 12 years with a couple of different changes. But it's very, very important for you to understand the implications. Because if you get found on the first page of Google, you'll have more business. Does anybody ever go to the second page of Google? Do you really? Right. It turns out about 6% will go to the second page, right? But most people stay on the first page, right? And we were talking about Google AdWords. Only 8% of college-educated folks click on Google AdWords. 92% will go to the organic. And same thing with regular folks. If 25% will click on the Google AdWords and 75% will go to the organic, right? But if you get to the first page of Google, right, people will find you, right? And you'll have an opportunity for them to work with you, right? The way you do that is you optimize your website with keywords, right? So you're going to create a universe of hundreds of keywords. Everybody know what a keyword is? Something that you type in that comes up on the Google screen that renders a search, right? And the best kind of keywords are called long tail keywords. There are multiple combinations of, it's not just trip to South Africa, it's luxury trip to South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. And that may be searched many fewer times, but it's an exact fit for what you're looking for, right? You're going to start blogging. How many people in the audience are blogging? I'm going to say 20%. All right, blogging is important for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's fresh content, right? You're not going to blog about you. You're going to blog about solving the problems that your customers have, right? No one cares about you. No one cares about your company. No one cares about your product. In fact, in 2019, it's all about the same. It's just like these ladies said, right? If you expect it to work, Daniel, if it doesn't work, you're like, I'll go to somebody else. So creating a blog will give you inbound links, right? Those inbound links are very, very important. That's how Google understands where to put you in the multiple pages of search. Once people get to your website using keywords and social publishing, right? Social media, social networking, social bookmarking, very, very important for building brand and scaling, right? What do you want people to do when they come to your website? Say it again. Take an action. What kind of action you want them to take? Purchase. Do you know the percentage of people who purchase the first time they come to your website? 1 to 2. Most people are there looking at your website and they're going, all right, does this person really understand me? Does this person really deal with people that I deal with? One of the big transformations in 2019 is the riches are in the niches, right? In the old days, you could be a generalist. You could service all these people. Because there were only 6 competitors, it wasn't that big deal. In 2019, you have to be the company that works in Pretoria with manufacturing companies of at least 3 million turnover that have 30 employees that want to grow 15% a year. Right? You see the difference between those two? It's very, very hard for an entrepreneur to turn away business, right? But you have to, because if you don't do a great job for all your customers, word gets out, right? And if word gets out, then that you're not doing a good job, it's always your fault, right? No one ever blames themselves for making a bad decision. It's always somebody else's stuff. So when people come to your website, you're going to give them away free information. People in South Africa like free stuff. Why do you like free stuff? Why do you like free stuff? I've heard that. I've heard that. Okay, it turns out, I'm going to give you some free stuff at the end. Even you, James, I might give you the sunglasses. I'm not quite sure yet. Or the moleskin. I know. But the ability to provide something for free, first of all, it's a quicker time to value. Right? In the old days, you'd go in and read some stuff. Now, no one has time to do that. Now, they just want to see, does it work? Number 2, it gives them more value more quickly. Right? Number 3, you think that we're treating you special because you got something for free. Right? Darren had to pay for his. You get yours for free. That creates a very positive buying experience where you're oriented towards at least considering somebody, right? You're a vendor. And so today's salespeople don't push. What they do is help. They treat people like human beings. They say, it doesn't really matter whether you're going to buy or not, right? I'm going to help you, right? And you're going to say, I don't help people like this. I help people over in this particular niche, right? One of the examples, I was speaking in New York City, and I was explaining this concept. Guy stands up in the 3rd row. He goes, that's not the way we do it. And I'm like, okay. You just poked the bear. You don't want to interrupt my presentation. It's not like you're in South Africa. And I'm like, well, how do you do it? He goes, we call 128 people a day. We talk with 2 or 3 people. We convert 1. I'm going, all right. What do you guys think about that? Yeah, that's a lot of work. So he's essentially wasting 99% of his time, effort, and money, right? Ripping up $100 bills. He hires people right out of college. Number 2, how about the 125 people who couldn't care? Not only is he not going to get the deal, right? They will never buy from him before. But that's the way we did it, right? For the first 30 years of my career, right, as a sales guy, if you wanted to grow revenue, you hired a salesperson. Today, if you want to grow revenue, you hire an agency so that you can get on the first page of Google. And then when people get there, you're going to offer them lots of free stuff. It may be a 20-minute consultation, right? It may be A checklist. Checklist is usually easy, right? What kind of business are you in? Okay, so you could, in an hour, pull together how to migrate a checklist for migrating to voice over IP or something like that, right? That has tremendous value. And if you're helping manufacturing companies transition to modern telecom, and it says on your website, we help manufacturing companies transition to telecom, you'll get all of the manufacturing companies who are looking for that, right? So it's hard for entrepreneurs to understand, but the riches are in the niches. And if you focus there, you're going to differentiate yourself from the general population of everyone else. All right, so then that information has to go to a CRM. Everybody understand the concept of a CRM, right? Customer relationship management. HubSpot has a free one I could give you at the end, right? You could use email and what we call workflows, right? That is dropping information, right? In 2019, salespeople should be busy talking with customers, not busy sending emails. And salespeople do horrible emails, right? Horrible. I've seen salespeople like type out like for hours, right? One like 3-line email where a marketing person could do it perfectly, right? And so we want the marketing organization to write out these templates so the salespeople can pick which templates to send, and then we want to measure everything, right? The key to the inbound methodology is there's an underlying foundation of data, right? And if I thought cold calling was a good way to get a reasonable return on investment, I'd tell you to do it, but it's not. It's horrible, right? Less than 2%. All right, and then you want to take your customers and you want to make them into promoters, and we'll talk a little bit about the flywheel there. In the sales process, it happens the same way. The first is the customer needs to know you're there, right? And so the reason why, how many people know chatbots? Chatbots. Anybody ever bought from a chatbot? Okay. You have, Kiki. Right. About 57% of people in the United States have bought from a chatbot. Why did you buy from a chatbot? Yeah. Okay, so when you're first talking to somebody, it used to be that you qualified on the first call, right? You pick up the phone and say, this is what I know about you. Are you ready to buy? Okay, you can't do that anymore. Okay, first of all, you pick up the phone. You say, my name is Dan from HubSpot, and pause, right? And then, thank you for picking up the phone, right? We used to say, how are you doing today? People say that in South Africa. How are you doing today? Sometimes it's a little too familiar, and sometimes it makes you sound like a cold caller. So now what we say is thanks for picking up the phone. And then if they came to your website, right, you're going to say, I saw that you came to the website. I saw that you downloaded a form or an ebook. What were you looking for help with? Right? That is a magic phrase, right? Clive, if you talk to somebody the first time and you say, what were you looking for help with? Right? What's the dynamics of that? How does that make you feel? Go ahead. Okay, go. Yeah. Yes. In most cases. HubSpot has a tool called the Prospects tool that allows you to see the IP address, the domains of people who are on your website, even before they fill out a form, right? But you just got to be very, very careful because of GDPR. And it depends on the way you engage, right? The most important thing is the key to inbound is being helpful, right? When I talk with you, I'm not trying to sell you anything, right? All I'm trying to do is find out what stage you're in, right? In the awareness stage, you may not know the problem that you have. There may not, you may think it's like just buying the software. That's not what it usually is. It's usually a deeper understanding of how you're going to solve this systematic issue. The salesperson, therefore, has to understand and see those patterns. They have to make sure that they're treating you as an individual. They've got to make sure that they diagnose, and they have to make a recommendation of you're not quite there yet, right? Or what I'm hearing you say is you're trying to solve this problem. I don't really think that's the problem you have. It's more of a consultant than a salesperson. Does that make sense? Right? Is that the way you guys like to be treated when you're talking to a salesperson? The person has to know what they're talking about. The person has to understand your needs.
In fact, the single most important thing for a salesperson in 2019 is active listening skills. Right? Number one, 71% of consumers says the first thing that they want is active listening skills. The second thing they want is recommendations of whether they're moving in the right direction. Right? If the person isn't ready to go, you're like, no big deal. Happy to help you. When you move from awareness to consideration mode, let me know. And where the workflows and the email pings written by your marketing department come in is dripping that information over time so they don't forget about it, right? So that you're always top of mind. And in 2019, we want you to use video email, right? Anybody using video email here? Okay. Really, like, what's your experience with video email? Yeah. The conversion percentage for people using video email is triple what it is for a text email. If you send a text email, right, it can only be 3 lines, right? People don't have time to read 3 paragraphs anymore. They want it very, very specific. If you include a little movie there, right, HubSpot has video, Vidyard, Loom, there's lots of free tools, right? Now they get to see you. Now that you look like a telecom guy, right? You look like you know what you're talking about, right? That's very, very important because now you're not a sales guy. Now you're the telecom guy who works with manufacturing, right? And they'll remember that, right? It is a little bit early in certain parts of the world for video email, but it's free and it's very, very impactful. The average conversion for an inbound lead is about 12%. If you include video, it goes up to 22 to 33%. All right, then as someone continues through the process, right, the salesperson has to have a good handle on all of the specifics. They have to be able to identify the problem. They have to make sure that they understand the different options, and they have to make a recommendation, right? With the goal of getting the company to make a decision, right? The hardest thing for a salesperson to do is say, no, you're not a good fit, right? In the book that I wrote, we spend a whole chapter 26 where a HubSpot rep said, no, you are not a good fit. Guy goes, no, I have my credit card out. He's going, I'm not going to sell it to you. It's not a good fit, right? Which is really, really hard, right? But it was the right thing to do. All right, any questions on the inbound methodology, marketing methodology, or sales methodology? Does this make sense to you? Okay, this is the key, the underlying process. What inbound is all about is it's not necessarily marketing and sales tactics. It's a philosophy where you're trying to help, where you're treating people like human beings, where you're educating, not selling, where you're building relationships, and where you're going to use your customers to generate more customers. All right, in today's world, right, the pace of technology happens so quickly that in the old days you would choose a product because it had different product features, right? This company X had more product features, so you'd buy that. Today, it moves too quick, right? Everybody has all of the same product features, and if they don't have it, they're going to have it in 6 months, right? The only differentiating factor is the buying experience, right? So if marketers are giving away free stuff, if they're optimizing the website, if they're offering ways for customers to educate themselves, if salespeople are engaging in very positive attributes to help people understand their problem, right? People will remember that, right? They're like, yes, that's the kind of organization I want to work with. That's the kind of company that I want. All right, so in 2019, this helping aesthetic becomes very, very important, right? Everybody in the audience like to help people? Anybody not like to help people? You like to help people? Yes, everybody likes to help people, right? It turns out if you don't help people, okay, that is Trevor Noah. That is Trevor Noah. Very good. Not dumb people, right? Help people. Very good. Very good. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, that's going to be a funny joke. I like that. Helping people is the way you build your business, right? Everybody should have happy customers because you've gone out of your way a couple of times, right? They're a little less price sensitive. They understand the value of the relationship, and they feel very confident that you'll be with them over a long period of time. One of the recommendations that I make to all business owners is you pick up the phone and you call your best customers. Right? Anybody in this room pick up their phone and call their best customers? You did? Okay, that is awesome. And what do you tell them, Nicole? What do you tell them? Sorry, no. Yes. What do you, when you pick up the phone to talk with customers, what do you? Got it. All right. Well, when I pick up the phone, first of all, it happens very rarely, right? I did an event with about 100 people. I took partners to a restaurant. I dropped like $100. The guy called me the next day. He goes, "That was an excellent event. If I can ever be of service, let me know." I'm like, "That's impressive," right? You know where I held my next event, right? When you're calling your customers, right, the recommendations I give is, first of all, say, "Hey, you've been a good customer for us for the last year. I wanted to thank you for your business," right? This is my cell phone number. If there's ever anything that I can do personally to help foster the relationship, please let me know, right? And, right, we want this to be a strong relationship for 10 years, right? So if there's anything that we need to improve or we can help, just let me know. And by the way, if you know anyone else who may be interested in our services, just let me know, right? A great way to get the flywheel moving. All right, so in 2015, I wrote this blog article, "Always Be Closing is Dead, How to Always Be Helping," right? Because I was in a territory as a salesperson for the second time at HubSpot. And this blog article talks about what I've spent the last 10 minutes talking about. And this blog article has generated 80,000 leads and 4,000 HubSpot customers, right? Hugely impactful, right? Which shows the value of utilizing blogging as a way of generating leads and customers. And in 2007, everything changed, right? The ability for people to help rather than close, super important. All right, so everybody has a choice, right? And lots of people will say, "No, this is not the way we do it in our industry," right? That's not like the way we do it in financial services or something like that. But the reality is they're wrong, and I can prove it, right? Because in today's world, right, the ability for people to feel understood, to feel listened to have a consultant rather than a salesperson is critically important. All right, has anybody heard the term schmarketing? Say it. Schmarketing, like you're from Brooklyn. Schmarketing. All right, very good. So in the I invented that term, by the way, in 2007. In the old days, marketing and sales were totally separate. Today, marketing and sales together. They work together. Salespeople work to educate customers. Marketers provide information to help people sell, right? And the companies that align their sales and marketing very closely have about 23% greater growth than the companies that don't, right? What this means is that you have to have your sales and marketing work together. In the old days, 2007, sales was the king, right? When you wanted to ramp up sales, revenue, you hired a salesperson, right? Or multiple salesperson, or a vice president of sales. There was always two marketers, right? And they were always in the doghouse, right? They were always like either they weren't providing enough leads for the sales team, or they provided too many leads of low value, so it was hard for people to get there, right? Today, you want your marketers to manage and workflow the regular leads, and you only want to give the good leads, the lead scores, to your sales team, right? If you want to call those regular leads, you still can. You just have to be very, very helpful, right, and offer to ensure that you understand a little bit about what they're talking about. All right, so the key is to have happy customers. Is anybody familiar with NPS? Net Promoter Score. Okay. Anybody know what the net promoter score of your customer base is? All right, net promoter score is a scale of 1 to essentially 100, right? And when everybody tells me they have happy customers, and I stroke my chin and I'm like, prove it, right? And so the key now is to use products that ensure you have happy customers. HubSpot has a free service software that allows you to, if you're answering a support question, right? We send a little NPS survey and say, are you happy? That's a green face. Are you like moderately happy? That's a yellow face. Are you angry? That's a red face. And if they're angry, we jump on the phone and say, what happened? Because we don't want it to fester. If it's a yellow face, we ask them, what can we do to improve it? If it's green, we ask them, will you post something on social media? So that you can build this flywheel, right? The flywheel, it used to be a marketing funnel, right? Everybody familiar with the marketing funnel? The problem with the marketing funnel, right, is customers aren't in it, right? I go all over the world, I'm like, do you like being in a marketing funnel? They're like, I like my marketing funnel, but I don't really like being in another marketing funnel. Customers have to be in the center, right? And everything has to revolve around marketing, sales, and service. So those customers are in good shape. All right, so baby steps to ensuring you're doing inbound sales. Number one, when you call someone, when you're trying to get in touch with somebody, how often do you call? Just shout it out. How many? Okay, so best practices is you call them 4 times, you email them 4 times, right? Some people do 5 or 6, but after 4, the subject line of the email is, should I stay or should I go? And if they don't want, if it's not the right time, that's okay, right? More than that is hard. But calling people 4 times, very rarely does that happen, right? And there's lots of playbooks that we can show you that helps you understand and engage in a way in which you say, no, we really want to talk with you. We think that there's some ways that we might be able to help, right? And that will have a huge impact. Number 2, if your salespeople are doing data entry, right, it's too old-fashioned, right? With the HubSpot CRM, if I want to get Darren's contact information into the CRM, I just send him an email, and it automatically populates Darren's contact record, his company record, and all of that information. So all of the old line salespeople remember bringing home the packages of information, right, and sitting there watching television and trying to type it in. You can't do that anymore. Every company has a technology, got to automate it. And then the meetings tool, it's another free tool from HubSpot, right, where has anybody ever been in an email chain where you're asking somebody, can you meet on Thursday? Can you meet on Friday? Can you meet on Monday? You want to kill yourself? I know. And then somebody cycles in on Monday and says, I was on vacation, right? You start the whole thing over again. What the meetings tool does is it allows you to only see my available time. It shows you a picture of who I am. It allows you to say either 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour. This becomes very, very empowering for a customer because now they have control of my schedule. Now they can get on my calendar whenever they want. My calendar is in the public domain, and people just show up, right? And it's very helpful and efficient. All right, so HubSpot is all about helping people grow, right? The company has been highly successful because it's not really a software company. What it really is about is working through our partners to make sure that all of millions of small businesses worldwide can scale. Right, and so I promised you. Oh, the other thing is, this is not an issue in South Africa, at least what I've observed. But HubSpot is very meaningful about diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And 4 years ago, we were horrible in female representation for our managers, executives, and board of directors. And now HubSpot has 3 women on our board of directors and a person of color. 3 years ago, we had 25% of our managers were women. 2 years ago, it was 38%. Last year was 45%. This year will be over 50% of our managers will be women, right? Which makes me feel proud, right, that there's really equal opportunity, or we're starting to get to that. All right. Last year I published a book called The Inbound Organization, How to Build and Strengthen Your Company's Future Using Inbound Principles. And it has lots of techniques that we've built at HubSpot to make sure that you're a mission-driven company, right? Employees like Spitfire, they prefer to work for a mission-driven company, right? Given all of the options that are out there, right? It just makes more sense. And this shows you ways in which you can work through the process so that everybody in the company knows your mission, your strategies, your plays, your omissions, and your targets. 5 minutes. How much? 10. Awesome. All right. So you guys ready for your free gifts? Yes. All right. So here's the CRM, right? The interesting thing is today in the United States, they announced the CRM now has email, right? And it also has ads. So if you're buying Facebook ads or Google ads, there's a connection there. And number two, there's something called HubSpot Academy. Anybody familiar with HubSpot Academy? Oh, great, right? Especially in South Africa, right? The ability for you to get certified will give you a huge employment opportunities worldwide, right? There are now 16 separate certifications, 84 hours of free training. You cycle in, you sign in, and it's self-paced training, right? Inbound certification, inbound marketing certification, inbound sales certification. Very, very valuable, right? And we give that away. 5,000 people take the certification per week because we're trying to spread the inbound word, right? We want to make sure the more educated you are on inbound, the more valuable it will be for you and your career. And you can just go to HubSpot Academy and see all that information. Right, and then HubSpot has free products for sales, free products for service, and free products for marketing. Right, so the freemium process, right, becomes very, very important because we want you to start when you're a small company with products that will give you a competitive advantage. And we believe that this is one of the ways that will scale more quickly. All right, so it used to be inbound for everyone everywhere. Now HubSpot is all about growing better, right? And I'm happy to take questions in the last 5 minutes on anything we talked about tonight. Thank you very much. So I deal with that all the time. Being 60 years old, I have credibility with people who've been doing this for 30 years, right? And the ability to explain. And the first question I always ask is, all right, in your personal life, how do you do it? And they always say the same thing that you guys did. They always say, we Google it first, right? And then they say, but that's not the way it works in our industry. In our industry, it's relationship, right? And we know all of our customers. And I'm like, really? You know all of the Japanese customers that are coming into South Africa? And they're like, well, not those, but and so I have a little YouTube video that I can send you. I got the gray hair, HubSpot t-shirt. I got about 9 of these t-shirts, by the way, right? That's the only t-shirt I wear. And I explained to them, number one, they're wrong. Number two, their entire business is at risk, right? Because that is not the way it's been done previously, but we're now 12 years in, right? And what you see is the companies that embraced inbound in 2007 dominate, right? HubSpot is a perfect example. The reason why we're sold in 132 countries, right, 70,000 paying customers, is because everybody likes to be helped, right? And you can duplicate that in any market, in any company, but they've got to realize that it's a high risk. Unless they start moving, the inbound organization is going to be hard. And then if you go to inboundorganization.com, it's the website for the book, you'll see tons of assessments and helpful ways that they can come to that realization as well. All right, very good. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Valet Lupuana, all the way from Port Elizabeth. I happen to be here by a good accident, but hey, I'm glad. So I'm not from the agencies.
Yeah.
I run a small business. We do chauffeuring, shuttle services,
Great.
and staff transport. So some of these terminologies are new to me, so I need to know what the difference is. So
Yeah.
in the diagram where you had the attract, convert, close, and delight,
Yeah.
some of the words I couldn't read, but I saw, if I saw correctly, under attract you have blog keywords and social publishing. Then under delight, the last one you had what, social marketing. What's the difference?
It's pretty much the same, except the social marketing is your customers who are
Okay.
publishing information about you, right? You want your customers to be delighted, right? Everybody like word of mouth customers. Why?
Credibility.
And exactly.
And credibility.
They move very, very quickly. They're like, no. Tyre told me to buy from you. Just tell me how much it is. Right? They come in with built-in trust, right? So the flywheel is all about being impactful, about creating those type of situations where on your LinkedIn, on your website, you have what we call testimonials, like little videos where somebody says, oh, no. These guys are great for the shuttle service. Very, very helpful. And that goes a long way towards ensuring that you're going to get more of that level of business.
Thank you very much. And then also with the email videos, can you just make an example? So instead of texting, they would videoize me giving the message.
Yeah.
And then I just send it
Lily
as
has a few. Marliese has a few. If you send me an email, dtyre@hubspot.com, I'll send you one. It will change your world. You'll see a little Dan Tyre, right, 2 inches tall. And I'll be like talking to you. And I'll be holding up a piece of paper with your name on it. And I'm like, I want to talk with you. Let's go. I think we're a good fit. I want to make sure. Here's my meeting stool. Let's have a conversation. Right? It's amazing. Right? And this is the world that we live in today. Right? It's personalized. It's customized. Right? They get to see you. Now all of a sudden you're not that salesperson. Now you're you. Right, there's another question back there.
My question is, I'm trying to figure out how to ask it. But if, let's say, your end user is like, basically say this, how much effort would you put into using inbound techniques to sell to an end user? And does it vary based on product? Like, for instance, if I was selling chips to the end user, how much of inbound marketing would I have to use?
So the philosophy still remains the same, right? You want to create experience, and you want to make sure that those customers are happy, right? So you want to make sure that you're known as the chip guy for this particular market. You'll actually scale more quickly then because everybody will buy from it. They're like, no, just buy from the chip guy here. He's got a dominant market share. Right? If the lead value is a little bit lower, right, you can still practice inbound, but it may not be, you just use the free stuff, right? You don't have to pay for it, right? And that's the whole reason why we provide that kind of technology, because you still want to grow your business. You still have to put out blog articles. You still have to get found, right? But smaller businesses don't always have the money to do that, so we want to make sure that you have a advantage.
If I can just jump in there. So one of the key things in the process is that inbound and HubSpot are not necessarily connected. Inbound is the methodology. HubSpot is the technology that enables you to do it at scale. So the inbound methodology is saying, let's treat people in a way that we can help them, and then let's find technology to allow us to do that at scale.
Good.
Thanks. So before I ask my question, I know Simba helps resellers. So call them wholesalers. I don't know if maybe that's what you were asking, because he sells to retailers who then sell on to the end customer.
Yeah.
I just wanted to check if that's what you meant. I think that's the piece that he didn't include in his question.
Yes. Do you give leads to your resellers? Okay. So you can have funnel, right, or a flywheel where people can come to your website, drop their contact information. Yeah. We spend a lot of time on that. HubSpot has 5,000 partners like Spitfire, right? And everything that we do, right, we think through the implications of our partner channel, right? We spend time on the end user. We spend time on the partner. It's a little bit different based on which industry you're in, right? But I don't think it makes sense to ignore either of those demographics, right? I think it makes sense to make sure that they both know that you're willing to invest time and effort in making them successful.
Sure. So I have a theory, right? And I think you touched on the idea that inbound as a concept has been around for 12 years. And the fact that things are moving as fast as they are, a lot of even sophisticated companies are taking forever to kind of adopt the concept, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And usually, based on my assumptions and my experience, companies that are starting inbound will typically start with elementary content, so to speak.
Yeah,
There's only so much space on the first page
that's true.
of Google.
That's true.
There's only so much budget for sophisticated content, because if you come in now or in 2 years' time with elementary content, nobody's going to care that much about the content that you're bringing in or the help that you're bringing in. Now,
Every day you delay,
that's it.
it's harder
Yes.
and more expensive.
Yes.
If you listen to me in 2007 about HubSpot, you dominate your business.
True.
Right? If you blew it off till 2009, 2011, 2013,
Your
it got
chances
harder and
decrease,
more
yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
Right? And so the early movers. Now, this we'll still be talking about inbound in 30 years.
True.
Right? Because the way human beings work, right? Although millennials always get it, right? They're always on their phones, right? They hate talking on the phone, right? They want to just text, right? And they want to go quickest time to like getting value, right? And so you may see it take off a little bit more quickly, but I'll still be doing the same presentation in 10 years,
Yeah.
talking about introduction to inbound.
Yeah. So in asking my question, and it's probably two-pronged, and maybe just like Simba, in my own head, I'm trying to figure out my question, right? One of them is, what are the, I guess the unintended consequences are clear, that those who don't start now will probably fail in business because they
They'll
won't
get
have,
annihilated.
that's it.
They're done.
That's it.
Stick a fork in them.
Yeah.
Do you understand that?
Yeah. So now, without coming across as being the bearer of the bad news, the old selling tactics of trying to scare people to then buy your product.
FUD, fear, uncertainty.
That's
and
it.
doubt.
How do we avoid that, but kind of raise the sense of urgency?
This is what I'd say. Number one, do you know how you compare against your competitors online?
Yeah.
Right? And if they do, you say, all right, what is it? They usually don't. And then you talk with Darren or somebody on the staff. He can run a report on the competitors tool in HubSpot, and it will show how they compare to the other companies in their industry. That is usually very important wake-up call, because if you don't really know, it's easy for you not to worry about it.
Yeah.
But if you know you're getting smoked, right, then it's a little harder to ignore.
True.
And then I ask them, how do you do it? They all say the same thing. I go online first, right? And then we can show 350 case studies in virtually every country and virtually every vertical, that how applying inbound principles, both sales and marketing, gives you a huge competitive advantage.
Thank you.
Sunglasses? Oh, you already got one. Okay. You got a question?
Yeah. No. Dan, I've got a question.
Go.
So, like, oftentimes, like, in certain industries, like here in South Africa, like, if take like engineering industries, like, it seems that the selling kind of happens a lot through relationships. And like, how do you implement the inbound method where it's like a market that's dominated by reputation and relationships?
Yeah, that's still very, very important, right? But if you're not getting fresh new leads, right, the company will atrophy. Does anybody know the percentage of your contacts that become useless in a year? It's between 22 and 27% become useless. People die. They move to another company, right? They're no longer interested. They unsubscribe, right? 22 to 27%. That means if you're not constantly refreshing, right? Then now the relationship thing is super important, right? And if you've got good relationships with your customers, that's awesome, right? If you talk to them all the time, if they know that you'll go the extra mile, that's just even better than picking up the phone and calling, right? But you've got to get the net new business, right? You've got to make sure that you are constantly replenishing your database. The thing about inbound is because you're not pushing, you have to have a bigger ocean of people you're going to talk to that will, it'll take them longer, right? So I have people who say, Dan, do you remember talking to me in 2014? And I'm like, I got nothing. No way. I don't know, right? They go, no, you helped me for 15 minutes. You explained to me how to optimize my website and build a blog. And we weren't ready yet, but now we're ready. That becomes very, very impactful because over time it builds on itself. And that guy has been telling his friends, no, go to that guy Tyre. He will help you understand a little bit how to optimize your website. And that's the way the world works today, right? It's technology driven. It's human being driven. The amazing thing with all this technology, it boils down to being a better human being, right? And helping people like accomplish their individual goals.
Dan, if I can just add to Bella's question on relationships and relationship selling, is that if you've got great relationships, you better look after them because there's lots of other people that are looking to build those relationships. But also, without looking after those relationships, they don't last. So as a salesperson, you know that someone's going to drop the ball at some point. And if you've been there and you've been helpful, when that ball gets dropped, the person's going to come to you to help them solve that problem. We've had clients where they've churned through 4 or 5 marketing directors, a couple of MDs. We've maintained the relationships over time. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to build deep and wide relationships in the business so that you can secure the business for a long period of time. But if they don't, and they drop the ball and you've been there to help them, you'll pick up the work.
Nice. All right. That was a blast. Thank you very much for coming out. Pretoria, that was awesome. Thank you, Darren, Marlies, the Spitfire team. I'll be here for the next 45 minutes or so and happy to answer any questions you have.